Adam, so tell us what's been going on through the pandemic. Sports has been impacted massively. Tell us sort of your views on how the teams, the leagues, the players, the networks, how they've responded and where things might be going.
Yeah, so it's certainly been a unique year to say the least. Beginning with sports just completely getting pulled from the air. So that was, I think it was 10 months to the day. March 12th, I think, was the last day that we had any sort of sporting event. And then we were in the dark for a few months, waiting on the leagues to figure out what the plan was, how they were going to approach restarting seasons. In the case of Major League Baseball, when they were going to start the season. And there was a lot of unknowns, especially from the media standpoint. Obviously, there's a ton of money that's invested into all of these sports. And, without knowing a schedule of when games are going to be played, it is difficult to plan out an advertiser's message, because sports is such an important part of certain advertisers' portfolios that we were looking for ways to make up for it on the entertainment side. But in a lot of instances, that's just not really available in terms of the GRPs and the amount of GRP leading into that time of year, which was March 12th. So March Madness was on the horizon, the NBA playoffs were on the horizon, and wheels were already in motion for some campaigns to begin. So it was certainly a new challenge that I think everyone did a really good job of pivoting, because we were sort of at the mercy of the leagues and what they wanted to do moving forward. So very pleased with what happened, but ultimately it was something I don't hope to experience anytime soon again, because with all the moving pieces, it was a challenge for myself and the team.
Could you tell us about sort of some of the creative opportunities that the networks have made through this period, and how advertising investment opportunities have changed around sponsorships, integrated marketing deals? How have the networks changed, and what is your perspective as a buyer?
Yeah, so when sports came back on air, obviously without fans, which is a big part of the overall broadcasts. So the easiest thing for a lot of these leagues and networks and teams to do was to offer some additional in-stadium advertising opportunities that was TV visible. So a lot of that really had to do with the local or national league or team sponsorships. So because you're losing all of the fans, you're also losing all of those activations that come along with that. And because that's how they were set up, they needed to provide make goods to the advertisers who had already supported these teams and leagues. So they all got together, and the easiest thing to do was put some more signage in the stands where the fans typically were, which is still carrying on, even though some of the leagues have let fans back into stadiums. You'll still see the first few rows blacked out with advertising messages. So that was the first simple thing. A lot of that, like I said, was make good weight because of what was lost based on the original agreements that each advertiser had done with these teams. Ultimately, in terms of new opportunities, we saw all of that different signage. They tried to play with some of the in-game features as well that played up, fans during a pandemic, whether it's the fan mosaics and things of that nature, which I think will have an impact moving forward, even when we do get fans back, because it was very well received ultimately. So they'll probably, even though when fans come back, you'll have that aspect of the game back in action. Some of these fan mosaics, because there are fans for different teams all over the country and things like that, will certainly be a part of some of the offerings moving forward. I think that was probably the biggest one from an on-air standpoint, was those fan mosaics that we've seen throughout all the sports broadcasts.
And looking forward, maybe to more normal times, or to sort of getting back to the new normal of sports, what is it that you want to buy on behalf of your clients? What is sort of the value of sports, and what are sort of the key factors in your investment strategy?
Sure. So sports is a very, very important part of a number of my advertiser portfolios. The broad reach is certainly a big part of that, but also just the passion of the people who watch and consume sports. Um, there are studies that show when you align with a certain sport and a certain team, that brand favorability, it tends to increase. So that's something that we look at, and we want to make those alignments so that fans are going out and buying our product. Me personally, as a Yankee fan, tend to gravitate towards the advertisements that are supporting the Yankees and their team sponsors and things of that nature. So that's sort of the approach that we take, and the reason that sports is important. The other part of that is it's the last, aside from news, which is obviously important and having a very big impact on our lives these days. It's completely live. So if you have a timely message that needs to be broadcast on a certain day, it's pretty much the only place that you can go to get that message out, just based on how everyone is now consuming their television entertainment, which is on demand when they want it through different platforms. And sports is the one. It's still appointment television across the board. While there are some people who may DVR it and watch it later, 97% of viewership is live. So if you have a sale coming up for this coming weekend, you need to be in that Thursday night football game, because your message doesn't mean anything if someone views that commercial on Monday or Tuesday. So that's going to continue as we see the entire landscape gravitate towards a more on-demand, customized type of elements. Sports is going to continue to remain as strong as it has. This year, despite, there's been numerous reports in the trades about ratings being down for some of the NBA and NHL playoffs and Stanley Cup finals and things of that nature, it's still really, really effective. And the gap between live sports and some of the other primetime and entertainment programming has actually grown, despite the fact that ratings were down a little bit this year.
So what about buying across screen? Because there are distribution of live sports now. We have on Peacock, we have on Amazon. How do you kind of strategize and manage your investment and understand reach and performance through these OTT platforms that are becoming more popular?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to hit everyone, and we absolutely recognize that people are still consuming sports live, but they may not be doing it in a traditional fashion in front of their TV. While they're always going to go for the biggest and best screen that's available to them, it's not always available to them. So people are looking at it on mobile and various other platforms. A lot of that starts with the leagues and the rights fees and things of that nature that they agree to with the networks. So most of the networks have some sort of simulcast or OTT platform where the game is broadcast, and you have access to. What's going to be interesting moving forward is if one of these other platforms is successful in creating their own package. So for the NFL, I'll use the NFL as an example. Amazon Prime has the streaming rights for Thursday Night Football, and they've created an audience there. It's a little bit of a different sale for the sales force, so it's a completely separate sale. If someone like Amazon is able to come in and actually pick off a full NFL package, that will be a game changer for the overall sports marketplace. I don't think that it's going to happen immediately, but I do think that you'll see more and more of these digital-only packages, exclusive packages, broken out to some of these other providers, aside from the big networks who have traditionally controlled that. We've seen some of the smaller leagues, like MLB, had a Facebook deal where they would have an exclusive game a week. And they're going to be doing a lot of testing and learning of that over the next few years, until the point that it can actually reach the amount of people that television can, though. It's going to be difficult for them to get a stronghold in the overall industry. But it's definitely gravitating in that direction. And I expect to see more of it as these conversations are ongoing and a lot of the rights are up in the next couple of years, and some of these companies have a lot of money to spend. But ultimately, all of these leagues are trying to get in front of as many people as possible. So I think we'll see some fractured off type of packages, which is what they've been doing over the past few years. I think we'll see that grow. There's some rumors that the Thursday Night Football package that's up after this, I think it's after the 21-22 season. There are rumors that Amazon might come in and get that exclusively. That would be a game changer as well, where there's a singular window of the NFL that is only brought to you via OTT. So that would be a first. Right now, it's just a sort of a companion piece to the NFL, but that would be a really big, have a really big impact overall.
Adam, I wanted to ask you about the challenge of getting and retaining younger viewers to sports programming. We hear a lot about that. I'm sure it comes up in your work. Where do you see that stand, and where are the opportunities to get and retain younger viewers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the NBA has probably done the best job. There are NBA fans that are consuming NBA without actually watching NBA games. They're consuming it via TikTok and social media and highlights and things of that nature. And I think the NBA has done a really good job of kind of pushing out on those platforms to market their players in front of a lot of these younger fans. Additionally, this past weekend, you saw the NFL take a shot and run a completely separate broadcast of a playoff game on Nickelodeon, explaining the game to children and things of that nature. So it's clear that this is very important to the network, to the leagues overall. And sports in general has been pretty traditional and unchanged over the last 20 years. Now, there's probably been more change in the last 5 years than there was in the past 50. But you're going to see these leagues take more and more chances like that because they are still trying to grow their base and realizing that the attention span of the average American, it's difficult to plug in and watch an entire game. So people are consuming things in snippets and small doses of these sports on platforms that may not be traditional. So the networks have started to get out of their own way a little bit. But there's a long way to go. But what I do think you'll see is these networks and leagues trying things like different kinds of broadcasts, stat-based broadcasts. You've seen ESPN with the national championship last night and their whatever they call it, it's the Supercast. So there's 3 different channels with different angles, or one that's focusing on stats, and gambling is going to play into that at some point as that becomes more and more legal across the states in the United States. So that all of these things coupled together, there's not really a singular answer to it, but you're going to see a lot of different attempts from the leagues to try and get in front of younger viewers to just grow their overall fan base.